Recently, we were working with a client, and one of the team members asked, "Hey, how do I keep this way of working alive in a crap culture?" Translation: how do I practice design thinking and its mindsets in a company culture not really geared for innovation and one that simply can't get out of their own way? Great question. Let's discuss.
So 3 things that I have learned that work great about figuring out how to kind of work your way through maybe a tricky or challenging company culture. The first one is to just find your people, find your co-conspirators, find those weirdos that you think might have some crazy idea like you do, go find them, take them out to lunch, and dream up something stupid and crazy and wild. And then if you have to tame it down, okay, but find your people, find your weirdos, find your co-conspirators. It's a great way to find some sanity. It's something I've done in the past. Another thing is to just build something for no reason. Maybe it's a Friday afternoon and you've got nothing to do. Maybe you've got a Monday morning that's going a little slow. Just build something. Maybe it needs to go in front of your boss. Maybe it needs to go in front of your team. Maybe it needs to go in front of a client. Just build something. The act of actually getting physical and building something with your hand feels kind of amazing. The third thing is one of the things that I've done in the past, and it's so easy to do, is to accidentally build something that benefits just me. Oftentimes in the company culture, we want to turn in and look at ourselves and find out something that will make us feel better, when it is actually the better thing to do is to go and build something for someone else. Maybe that's your boss, maybe it's a client or a user or a partner. Someone else that can be affected by the work that you're doing actually feels a ton better. It's much more beneficial for you and the company and the people around you. And it might just be the thing that helps you get that leg up that you weren't expecting to build the kind of culture that you want to have.
So the question is, how can you do creative work in a crappy culture? So I think that there's an opportunity to kind of reframe that and understand, what are we saying when we say crappy culture? Well, beauty is kind of in the eye of the beholder. Everybody needs a different culture. So really probably what's happening is there's some change, like some evolution in self that doesn't align with your environment. And this can kind of relate to any relationship that you have. If you think about your longest best friend or your significant other, you can change at different rates. And sometimes there feels like there's a mismatch and we don't know what to do. So there are a couple things. First, most of us actually do is change ourselves to fit the culture, change ourselves to fit the environment, to make ourselves fit in because we're scared of the change, of what might happen. It feels really risky or too risky. Or we can actually kind of leave the relationship or leave the environment, which works for a lot of people and can be a great decision. But there's this third option, which is what we're really talking about, which is changing your environment, which is so hard, but I believe is so brave and potentially the most beneficial, just like these really thoughtful relationships, long-term relationships we have, that when we work on them, they're often like the most rich and meaningful relationships. So what can you do? From my experience, we always say start with really small things, like changing your meeting, changing the way that you dress at work, changing your space. These things all make a lot of sense. They show the world, they signal to your environment that you're making a change. But it's really small. We're, a one-to-one relationship that may work, but in these huge cultures, that's just a small dent. We have to start thinking about how can we make a bigger impact? Because when you change, your environment changes, but you need more people to change. So how do you create kind of that contagion? How can you get other people to change along with you? Well, from my experience, there are people out there just like you. I call them the sleepers. They're sitting there telling their significant other at dinner how much they are unhappy in their environment, how they want to do things differently. You find those people, they're waiting for you. And you pick a project that is low-hanging fruit. Everybody wants a change in this project. Maybe it's the way that you welcome employees to a small tool that you use that frustrates everybody. And change that, design around that first. Show the impact, and people will notice it. People will see that you're working happier. You're trying things in a new way that seem to be effective, and you'll start to kind of create that excitement that other people want to be a part of.
One of my favorite pieces of advice on solving a big problem that I've ever read was in Anne Lamott's book, Bird by Bird. She was talking about writing novels. She was saying that one of her colleagues had told her this. He said, writing is like driving at night with your headlights on, and the headlights are only shining 3 feet down the road. You don't need to see the destination or the whole road to get there. You just need to look 3 feet ahead of you at a time and get there 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet until you get there. And I think that applies to all kinds of things, especially trying to solve big, hairy problems inside an organization, trying to change a culture, trying to do anything worthwhile is sometimes it's so overwhelming. Just look ahead of you, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 3 feet at a time, just watch the headlights.